Okay, so a great day, some real excitement at the end. Let's begin with the first conversation of the day. I will soon be welcoming to the stage a pioneer in filmmaking, I guess, for a man who has not produced vast quantities of movies. He's managed to produce not just the highest grossing movie of all time, but the second highest grossing movie of all time as well, paling all other movies in their wake. We're going to find out how, why, and what's next for Jon Landau, ladies and gentlemen. But before we do, let's just remind ourselves of two of his most impressive and amazing successes.
Just head out for the horizon whenever I feel like it.
I've got $10 in my pocket. I have nothing to offer you, and I know how the world works.
I'm fine.
What made you think you could put your hands on my fiancée?
It's not up to you to save me, Jack.
They've got you trapped, Rose, and if you don't break free, you're gonna die.
None of these stewards have seen her.
It's a ship. There's only so many places she can be. Find her.
It can smell us, you know, but it's near.
Parker.
Right.
Is there anyone there? Iceberg, run ahead!
Pandora. Out there beyond that fence, every living thing wants to kill you. Everyone on this base, every one of you, is fighting for survival.
I can do this.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, please meet Academy Award winner Jon Landau. Come on, big it up.
Thank you, Charlie.
How you doing, my friend?
Good. How you
Come
doing?
on. Yeah, why don't you take a seat here, my friend? And,
All right.
Let's go on.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Well, we got you here. Thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You can sit back and recline. We can relax a little bit. Just imagine it's just you and me, and not 300 people in the room, and probably another 300 to saunter in as we're having this conversation,
All right,
my friend. So I started this preamble by saying, you managed to get two big ones, right? You've grossed between two of them globally at the box office over $4 billion. What is it? What have you got? What's the magic? Tell us how you pick these winners.
Well, first of all, it's surrounding yourself with people who do their jobs better than you could ever do their jobs.
Okay.
So filmmaking is a team effort. But what I think we look to do is we look to create movies that have themes that are bigger than their genre. People respond to the themes of any product. And I think the same thing can be said for films. When someone leaves the theater, they leave the plot of a movie at the theater, and they walk away with the theme. People listen to music over and over again, and we don't think twice about that. But why do people do it? Because they get something emotionally out of it. Yeah. So if we can make that same connection with our films, they'll return, they'll want to experience it again.
So what you're saying is, is there a common theme between two very different movies, Titanic and Avatar? Is there something similar that defines their success? Is there a common denominator?
I think what you try and do again is find aspirational characters. And I think if you look at Rose in Titanic, she was in a more desperate situation than anybody in the audience when she's there in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic. Yet the movie shows that she went on to live a good, full, and rich life. And if she could do that, it gives hope for people in the audience that they could do that as well. So she becomes aspirational for them. If you take Jake Sully in Avatar, he's someone who is confined to a wheelchair. And he is the least likeliest of heroes. But his journey, in some ways, reminds each one of us that there's a hero inside of us, and we just have to enact upon it, and that becomes aspirational.
So do you actually think that that human element in the script is actually more important to the box office success of the movies than the lavish effects and the large budgets and the pioneering technology?
Look, when Jim Cameron wrote the original Avatar script in 1995, the technology did not exist to make the movie at that time. People get confused when I say that. They think I'm talking about the 3D technology. I'm not. I'm talking about the technology for the close-up, to create Avatar and Na'vi characters that could be engaging and emotive. Movies are about the close-ups. In 2005, I looked at the landscape of where the industry was, and I went to Jim and I said, I think we can now be the impetus to move things forward and finally put engaging characters. We could always do the world, but we couldn't do the characters.
So it wasn't necessarily the amazing 3D, which was groundbreaking at the time, which had that huge partnership with Microsoft to make it all happen.
Right.
But it was actually trying to make the characters more human.
It was trying to make the characters engaging. And you know, there's been this term, the uncanny valley, before, when you were dealing with digital characters. And to us, the commitment we made to our actors was when they saw themselves up on the screen, it would be their performance. It would not be an animator's interpretation. Because if you think of it, what a great actor does and what a great animator does is oftentimes antithetical to one another. A great actor sometimes withholds that information.
Yeah, right.
An animator is always feeling they have to put it in. So when we screened, the first time I screened a scene for Sam Worthington, who played Jake in the film, it was a scene where he wakes up as the Avatar for the first time. Yeah. And it was just him and I in a screening room, and we start playing the scene, and he wakes up and he staggers over to the wall.
Right. He runs out into the field.
That's right. And he laughed, and I got nervous. And he turns to me and he goes, "That's a good laugh, mate. That's me up there on the screen."
Right.
And that's when we knew we had succeeded.
And that's how it works. That's really, really interesting. And you've just going back to this idea of storytelling and just finding that kind of grain of truth, which is what you're saying about the two movies. So when you look at scripts now and when you're looking at projects, is that really what you're looking for in the story? Are you looking for that sort of human truth?
Well, let's start with the fact that the script is everything. That you can't go in and embark on a project until you have that script in a place where you're comfortable. Yeah. Too many times people rush out because they've discovered a technology and they want to utilize it to tell a story. It should be the other way around. The technologies should be the ones that are pushing the technologies so that stories can be told.
Yeah.
So, you know, we put all of the emphasis on the script, and also the way I look at Jim's writing process and our process of dealing with writing, it has 3 phases. We write the original script, then when we're working with the actors and filming the scenes, it's another writing process.
Yeah.
And too oftentimes people lose sight in production of something of why they were making it. What were the choices they made when it wasn't so crazy?
Yeah. Do you think there's too many CGI heavy films out there at the moment?
No, I think there are too many bad ones. There's a difference. I think that the door has been opened now where any story can be told. It's the imagination of the filmmakers is limitless now. In the past, it wasn't. Yeah. But now it's open. But too many times people don't stop to write that script, to get that script right. They have a release date they have to make. They have an actor's window where the actor's available, and they rush into production. And we've all seen bad movies, but none of us set out to make a bad movie.
Yeah. Okay, let's just touch upon this issue of budget. Obviously,
what's that? A budget?
Well, clearly, this is very much to your heart. I mean, Variety magazine, I think, during the making of Titanic, had a Titanic watch button on the website. You know, where every week there would be stories of it going over and over and over and over and over. And I think no one's ever really crystallized exactly how far over budget it went, but I think it was certainly in the $100 million plus. Couple of things to sort of ask about that, but the first thing is, are you cavalier with your budgets? Or, you know, and how do the studios take to these issues, first of all?
Well, first of all, we are not at all cavalier. When you are going down a path that no one has ever traveled before, it's the unknown. You can't in advance predict it, budget it accurately. We are very fiscally responsible. And the studios, are as frustrated as they might get with us, they know that. We make decisions based on our best knowledge. But the most important thing is that we deliver a movie that meets or exceeds the public's expectations. And nobody remembers a bad movie that came in under budget. I also think that people in the outside world, they love talking about the budgets of films. There are so many budgets of other things that are going over in our world. They don't focus on it. But our business, for some reason, and it's strange, because despite what Jeffrey Katzenberg wants, we are the one business in the world that doesn't charge the consumer more for more. We don't go out there and say, hey, it's a longer movie, it's a more expensive movie, we're going to charge you more. You buy a bigger cheeseburger, it charges you more. A nicer hotel room, they charge you more. We don't do that.
Yeah. Okay. Is there, just to your point actually, is there something actually beneficial in the movie when you talk about the budget? I mean, is it subtle marketing, perhaps? I mean, is it intentional that you allow the fact that you're going over budget to seep into the consumer press, because that simply gives you more marketing before the film's released?
No, it's not intentional. And the really interesting thing, it's the press picks it up. It's like we see so oftentimes with so much. Titanic was not the most expensive movie that year, but people singled it out. People wanted to talk about it because it was a story, as opposed to talking about Batman and Robin, which had Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Carrey and this one and that one. That cost, their wardrobe budget on that movie was more than it cost us to build the ship for Titanic. Okay. But nobody wanted to talk about that. So we're not the ones who get it out there. We'd rather nobody talk about it. To us, and it's really interesting, if you look back at Titanic, we didn't talk about the movie until the movie was released. The people in the press who had the most accurate reporting, they waited to tell their stories. They weren't the ones, the gossip mongers, who went out in advance. And people said, yeah, it was a tough shoot. Yes, it was an expensive shoot, but it was groundbreaking.
What do you say to a studio executive, and you've had obviously some great experience in this, when it is going over budget? What's your strategy and your technique to actually buy yourself more time or get the good grace of the execs, who obviously have a huge amount of power in Hollywood?
Look, I think overall, what you want to do in dealing with a studio is you want to co-opt them. You want to co-opt them into being a part of the filmmaking, a part of the solution, a part of the problems if the problems exist, and make them a part of it. If they have a good idea where we could trim something or change something, we're open to it. But at the end of the day, we have to be the arbiters when they say, hey, that scene where Kate teaches, or Jack teaches Kate to spit, cut that out of the movie, because they didn't see the importance of it. We're the ones who have to say no. Then we're the bad guys in that moment until the movie comes out and people love that scene and they see how it pays off when she spits in Billy Zane's face later. So,
whose idea was it to have the scene in the car with now what has become the infamous greasy hand reaching up in the back seat of that? Because that's one of the most pastiched film moments in history.
That was Jim's idea, and I will tell you, we still have that car at the studio we're filming at, in a little warehouse we have. And I had a great experience on Wednesday. We had a young man from the Make-A-Wish Foundation come by who is suffering from, I call it Benjamin Button disease, where he's aging rapidly. And he came in in a 96-year-old's body, but an 18-year-old's eyes with that enthusiasm. And when he saw the car, and he still saw the handprint in the window, his eyes lit up, and he was from Italy, and it was so nice to see that.
Of course, you could rent that out by the hour now, I guess. You could probably make a little bit more... Anyways, where am I going with this? Just to strike that one. Edit that from the record. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the model of movie making. And you've touched upon it yourself with the cheeseburger analogy. Jeffrey Katzenberg has obviously gone on record to say that films should be priced according to the screen that they're viewed on, which is an interesting concept. As background, so people are aware, according to Morgan Stanley, the main 5 big studios have all dropped in profits over the last 5 or 6 years by about 40%. All the studios actually making fewer movies now than they did maybe 10 years ago. So there seems to be a real stalemate in Hollywood at the moment, where there's a concern over where the future lies. Where do you agree with the Katzenberg idea? Where do you see the business of cinema going?
No, I don't agree with Jeffrey's idea. I think that you can't put people in a situation where someone makes a smaller movie and they're penalized for it, and they don't have that opportunity. I think we have to continue to encourage those younger filmmakers to be able to come up and rise and take a chance on the $1 million movie, and they shouldn't pay only $3 to go to that movie. I also think that in some ways, the demise of the film industry is much ado about nothing. I did a presentation at a university not too long ago, and I started with 3 quotes from newspapers that said, entertainment can be had at a cut rate at home, the movie business is going to die, on and on and on. And at the end, I revealed those quotes were from 1953, 1967, and 1985.
Right.
The industry is still here, and I think what we have that is unique is we have the communal experience. And this is not to say that it takes away anything that people get on their individual mobile devices or internet or any of those things, but that communal experience is something people want to share. It's the same reason people go to concerts. We could listen to music all day at home, digitally, on Pandora Radio, which has 6 billion stations I now heard, but it's not that communal experience.
Yeah, okay. And so there is obviously more and more people wanting to have a film experience in their homes, streams. The distance now between a movie being released...
they don't want a film experience. They want a better viewing experience, because it's not a film experience. The film experience is in the theater.
Right. Do you think the distance, the window between the general release into the cinemas and then the release to different TV shows, other distributors, which is roughly about 40 days now, do you think that should become tighter and smaller, or do you think that that's still a good thing?
I think it's a great thing. I think it should be longer, right, and not shorter. I think that when you have a movie that works, it plays. I mean, this summer we had Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was still #1 in its 8th or 9th weekend of release. Yeah. You can't be sitting there saying, oh, and by the way, you can get it on DVD next week, or you can get it on HBO next week. So I think we have to protect those windows, but find ways to use all this incredible ancillary opportunities to expand the worlds of our movies. Yeah. I look at Avatar, and I say that we can only tell so much of the story in our movie. How do we go and use the web? How do we go and use streaming media? How do we go and use mobile devices to expand the story and the universe of our world?
J.K. Rowling has obviously launched this Pottermore website, which is, again, trying to expand the storytelling of the film, right, using the characters in gaming. In the Festival of Media in Rome this year, we had the CEO of Pottermore talking about that, how that works. Do you see a similar business opportunity for your films, Titanic and Avatar? Avatar probably particularly into that world of engagement, social media, communities.
I think certainly not for Titanic, but certainly for Avatar we do. And when Fox approached us about doing sequels for Avatar, we made as a condition of our doing that we would create within Lightstorm, our company, a franchise development department. Right. And we would have a president of franchise development, where, as opposed to a studio where they have consumer products and they have promotions and they have all licensing and all this stuff, where they have to worry about 20 movies in 1 year, we hired a woman named Kathy Franklin, and we've charged her with worrying about one franchise for 20 years.
Right.
What's the long-term plan? And we're not looking and saying we have to have something out in advance of the movie, because we don't need awareness. Awareness is not our issue. It's engagement. Yeah. It's expanding the universe. So we're looking at opportunities at a post-data release of a film, what's better before, but we definitely want to do that.
So there's going to be an Avatar 2 and 3.
And 4.
And 4. Are they in production? Is the next one in production right now?
We are in pre-production. We have a phenomenal art department working away, both in...
How do you top it? How do you top the success? There must be a huge amount of pressure with the team to actually make that.
I don't think you try and top it. You try and make a great movie on its own. And we have come up with, because I've been able to share the artwork with some people, a world that will have as much wonder as the first movie. The next movie is going to be what I call a family saga. So it deals again with themes that are relatable when you deal with family and all of that in a movie. So,
okay. So look, we've talked a bit about the movie model, the story, the importance of storytelling, and the new department, the licensing department, and so on, which I think is really fascinating. The theme of this conference is transformation, and you've now come into the advertising business, but as so many film producers and directors do, you know, back and forth making commercials and so on. But this time it's slightly different. You've actually joined a business called MoFilm, which is a crowdsourcing business. Explain a little bit about that, and why were you interested in being a part of it?
Well, when I first heard about the MoFilm concept of going out and partnering brands with you know, I'm going to call them amateur filmmakers, crowdsourcing. I found that fascinating because I think it gave an opportunity for the brand to see how their products are really seen by the consumer, and what they're able to deliver is at a remarkable quality level. And I believe because of technology is now in the hands of everybody with a mobile device where they could go make movies, that the future Jim Camerons, the future Steven Spielbergs, the future Peter Jacksons are going to come from these crowdsourcing spaces. Okay. Just like Ridley Scott came from commercials, or David Fincher came from commercials, but they're doing it, and again, I think the idea that a brand can see not one option, but 50, 100 different options for them to choose from and see how it plays.
Well, I think there's just a video, actually, just that explains a bit about the crowdsourcing concept, just so people are aware of it. Then we can talk a little bit about the pros and cons of that method. Okay. If you just run a few, we're running tight on time, but so look out for me. But run the VT, and I'll tell you when to stop. Have a look at what this company does, and then we'll talk about some of the issues involved.
Perdona.
¿Sí?
¿Eres de por aquí?
So, 50,000 filmmakers in a network.
Worldwide, global.
Okay, making creative. That's probably not going to worry too many people in this room, but it's probably going to worry many of the creative advertising agencies out there. Describe one or two of the brand briefs you've had.
Well, you know, I think one of the ones was an interesting subject matter. It was condoms.
Okay.
And how to do it.
Do we all know what condoms are here in the room?
This was a spot that was done in Mexico, and what so impressed me, number one, the creativity about how to approach it, but also the fact that they were able to produce this spot that harkens to the movie Gravity for a total of $2,000, and what the brand was able to get from a crowdsourcing.
Well, let's see in a world of crowdsourcing what $2,000 can get you these days in a world of digital technology and the internet and social media. Should we just have a look at the Psycho spot? It's probably going to be very amateurish.
Desplegando paneles solares.
Paneles solares desplegados. Fase de aproximación en curso. Objetivo fijado.
Potencia propulsores.
Propulsores en 90 y subiendo.
Ya es la hora. Bajando potencia de luces.
Luces apagadas. Estoy preparada. Vamos a hacerlo.
Relájate y disfruta del acoplamiento. En 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Vamos.
Despacio.
Buenas noches, señora María. ¿Cómo se encuentra? Necesitaba un poco de aire fresco. Menuda noche.
¿Vienes a la cama?
Es hora de otra odisea espacial. Buenas noches, señora María.
So that's a film student. Congratulations to the film student. Yeah, that's
So that would be $20 million for us to do.
Yeah, right.
But the idea is that this brand doesn't just get this. They get a variety to look from, and they get to see their product from a different point of view.
Yeah. So you've hitched your name and your brand to this wagon and this whole crowdsourcing issue. Do you see that it's a real threat to the traditional film, the traditional creative businesses? I mean, who are very dominant still clearly in Latin America, but you know, the full service agencies?
I view it as a great alternative for brands. I don't want to view it as a threat to somebody, but I think it's an incredible alternative for brands to be able to go, say, here's our brief. Here's our brief, go run with it. And bringing it back, and they do it through competitions. And so these filmmakers are then brought to a location, the finalist, and a winner is selected. Out of this, there was a Chevy spot that made it onto the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, so it has worked for people.
So one gets the impression that this is still early days for crowdsourcing of content, but if the quality is of that strength, then this is potentially huge.
The quality is not, I won't say they're all that way, but all of the finalists are at some level of quality like that, which is what's remarkable. And that group of 50,000 is growing. And the more they get feedback from the brands, the better the next set are, the more on point they are.
Do you think that in your world, even movies themselves could be crowdsourced in this way in future?
You know, I don't think they can be crowdsourced because I think filmmaking is about a single filmmaker's vision, but I think these filmmakers can emerge into our market, into television, and be very successful. And that's what I enjoy about it. I go out and whenever I can, I meet these filmmakers, I mentor them in some of the projects they have, and that's rewarding for me.
That's brilliant. Well, time has been against us, unfortunately. I see a big red light coming up. For those of you who have questions for Mr. Landau, you will have to possibly wait for the break. But you're sticking around, yeah?
I'm going to stick around, but before we go, I brought something, you know, because you did such a good job today.
Oh, thank you very much.
I thought I would briefly share with you an Oscar that you deserve for the performance you've given today. So this is my Oscar from Titanic, and this is for, you know.
Oh, thank you.
You're the king of the world.
Where's the photo? Wow, this is the real one?
That's the real one.
Okay, I'm a bit bowled over here. I'd like to thank my mother, all my team at C Squared who've made this possible for me, and of course, Mr. Jon Landau. Big round of applause.
Enjoy, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, good. Can I, wow. Can I?
Only on loan.
Oh, I was going to ask whether I could keep it.
No, sorry.
Do you want it back now, or can I hold it for a little while longer?
How much longer? Can I trust you?
4.5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Landau, thank you very much. Wow, brilliant.